Welcome to this series on reading music. This video contains lesson 4 of 5. In this lesson, we will discover the staff and systems, ties and slurs, and finally, lyrics and verses. In the first video of this series, we gave an introduction about the sorts of things that can be found in sheet music and reassured you that you don't need to know it all to get some use out of it. We identified 9 basic topics that we think will help you get lots of useful information from printed music. Then we talked about the first of those 9 topics, notes, rests, and their values. In the second video, we discussed time signatures and bars. Then we talked about how to integrate learnings from the first 3 of the 9 basic concepts. In the third lesson, we covered the next 2 of our 9 basic topics. We saw what it means when we say that notes go up and down by steps or by skips. Then we explored whole and half steps, referring to a piano keyboard. We'll continue to build on those concepts in this video, so if you haven't watched those yet, I would encourage you to do so before you watch this one. In the video for lesson 3, I said that higher notes are written higher on the page. You could also say they are written higher on the staff. The staff is the group of 5 lines and the 4 spaces between them that shows up over and over on a sheet of music. The 5 lines and the 4 spaces between them, along with the space just above the top line and the space just below the bottom line, give us places to write 11 different notes. If we need more than that, we just add extra lines above or below the staff. Of course, there's a limit to how many of these we can add and still be able to read them quickly. The plural of staff is staves. For choral music, we usually have a number of staves that are grouped together into what are called systems. Lots of choral music has 4 parts, so you'll often see a system with 4 staves linked together by a line, some brackets, or both. Each singer is assigned to a specific part. The highest voices are sopranos, next are altos, then tenors, then basses. Most sopranos and altos are women, and most tenors and basses are men, although there are exceptions. Usually, your part will have a separate staff within each system on the page. These are usually labeled, but if not, you can assume that the top one is soprano, the next one is alto, and so on. Some pieces have more or fewer parts. For example, there might be sopranos and altos, but all the men sing together. Or a piece might be written for men alone and might have 2 tenor parts and 2 bass parts. Composers are infinitely creative and they do anything you can imagine, and probably more. You'll typically find the staff in the system that applies to you and read the notes from left to right. When you get to the end of the staff, you jump down to the left of the next system and read it from left to right. When you finish the last system on the page, you go to the next page and start over again. You basically ignore all the other staves in each system, while singers of the other parts will ignore yours. Altos may sometimes feel that even the composer ignored their staff, particularly when they have to sing the same note over and over 20 times in a row. You may see gently curving lines connecting multiple notes together. Some of these are ties and some are slurs, and you can't tell the difference by how they look. You can only tell by the notes they connect together. If they connect just 2 notes and the notes are the same pitch, that is, they're on the same line or space on the staff, it's a tie. A tie takes these 2 notes and combines them to make a single longer note. So if a minim, or half note, is tied to a crotchet, or quarter note, in 4/4 time, it makes a single note 3 beats long. If you see one of these curved lines connecting multiple notes on different pitches, that is, they're on different lines or spaces on the staff, it's a slur. In choral music, slurs are used when you sing a single syllable on more than 1 note. Example time. In this example, we have lots of ties and a few slurs. There in the bass line at the bottom, you see some examples of notes tied together. This piece is in 4/4 time, which means a crotchet, the filled circle with a plain line or stem attached, gets one beat. So, when you see a quaver, that's the note that's a filled circle with a stem and a flag, tied to a crotchet, it creates one note that is 1.5 beats long. On that part, you see God, do, 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 do. So those two notes that are tied together become a single note. In the alto part, you see a slur that connects 4 notes. Underneath that, you see the word names. The word names is sung on all 4 of these notes, like this. Through whose names. In the soprano part, you see something very similar to what we saw in the bass part. A tie connects a quaver to a crotchet, making a single note that is 1.5 beats long. Note that the flag on this quaver is connected to the flag on the previous quaver, forming a beam, but they're both still quavers. In addition to the tie, there's also a slur, which connects that preceding quaver with the tied note. The word names that shows below the staff is sung on those 2 notes. So, like this. Through whose names. For singers that don't read music, the lyrics are probably the easiest thing to make use of. They are printed just under, or occasionally over, the staff. The words are split into syllables with hyphens, and each syllable is printed under the note it is sung on. If a word is sung on more than one note, those notes should have a slur connecting them. When there are multiple verses to a song, each verse is printed on a separate line beneath the staff. Sometimes these are numbered, but not always. The first verse is on top, the second is below that, and so on. You sing the entire song, or repeated section, using the words of the first verse, then come back to the beginning and sing all the same notes using the words of the second verse. Thanks for watching this 4th of 5 lessons on reading music. Be sure to check out the rest of the series.